Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm Patricia Capella, Conference Manager for the Clarion UX Food Shows, which produces several industry trade shows and conferences, including last week's International Restaurant and Food Service Show of New York, which included our guest speaker as a presenter. We invite you to visit www.foodandbevshows.com for more information on all of our upcoming events. I am excited to introduce Emma Vaughn, Local Outreach Manager at GoDaddy Social, who will present 4 ways to maximize your restaurant's Instagram. A few housekeeping notes before Emma begins the presentation. All audience members are on listen-only mode, which means you are muted. We will be monitoring audience engagement on the dashboard and encourage you to participate by using the question pane. There will be time for question and answers at the end of the session. This webinar, as well as others in our series, will be made available on our website in the coming week. Now, let me turn the program over to Emma Vaughn. Emma?
Thanks, Patricia. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. So we're going to dive into 4 ways to maximize your restaurant's Instagram. And as I'm sure a lot of you know, Instagram is one of the most popular social media platforms for your customers to interact with, not just their friends, but restaurants like you. In fact, 80% of Instagram users follow a business, and every day, it's amazing, 200 million users visit a business page on Instagram. So clearly, there's a ton of opportunity for your restaurant, and I'm sure a lot of you listening in are at varying stages of your Instagram. Maybe you've been on Instagram since the beginning, maybe you just started. I know when I was speaking at the food show in New York just recently, I talked to a lot of you that went to my seminar, and I heard questions of definitely from the beginner to the expert, and I hope and I encourage you all to ask more questions today, but there's something in here for everyone. And as you can see in the agenda over to the left, I'm going to start off with something I was getting asked about a lot from restaurants, which was just some basic questions around posting strategy, but also was getting a ton of questions about hashtags, Instagram stories, and user-generated content, which if you don't know what user-generated content is, don't worry. I'm going to share real-life examples and define that. Before we dive in, though, I wanted to just give a little intro about what I do as local outreach manager. It's probably one of the coolest jobs over here at GoDaddy Social. What I do is, well, webinars, like what you're witnessing today, and they're always educational and they're fun. I'm blessed with a hot topic like social media. It keeps things interesting. But I also travel the country and do in-person seminars. And GoDaddy Social, what we've been doing over the past 8 years is we've actually offered a complete do-it-for-you service where we actually manage social media for restaurants like yours. We've written over 10 million posts now, our writers have, which is a lot of posts, and therefore we can now position ourselves as experts on like what we're talking about today. So that's where I get all of this expertise, is from the experience we've had, and I'm so excited to dive into this. Oh, also be sure to tweet us at GoDaddy. Not only will it look great that you're out there getting educated with your fans and followers, but we love to hear from you. So let's get into this. First, talking about planning out your posting strategies. So the first step to building an active, engaging social media strategy is plan ahead. I always encourage my, not just restaurants, but any industry that's on social media as a business, oh my gosh, get yourself a calendar and start thinking ahead about what you're going to do. So as we have approaching St. Patrick's Day, I hope everyone has a post in mind that they're going to do, whether you are offering a happy hour like this business or not. It's a great way to just play off the calendar. So I encourage you to approach this as, hey, what am I trying to do with my social media? Am I looking to gain more followers? Do I want more likes? Are you hoping to just discover new customers in your area? Or do you want to reach people outside of your neighborhood? Or are you trying to just get the word out about events happening at your restaurant? Whatever your goals are, just keep a list of what you're trying to achieve so you can continue to use those goals to then inform your content, right? And once you know what you're trying to accomplish, you can be intentional about what you're sharing with your fans and what you're sharing with your followers, and not to mention potential customers on social media. So before creating any specific post, which I'm going to go into a bunch of examples, think about the year as a whole and mark down those major holidays or days when your restaurant will be holding events or running specials. Also, days when your business will be closed. You know, you'll need to inform your followers about that. Social media is definitely a place where you want to do that. Also, one of my favorites, and the reason why I follow a lot of restaurants in San Diego, California, where I live, uh, I love to follow restaurants that just keep me informed about what's happening in my local community. So if there's something going on in San Diego, the restaurants here should absolutely include that in their post. And I mean, I just moved here in November, so I'm hungry to know what's happening in my city, what's going on. And restaurants that give me something of value, I'm more likely to follow them and stay tuned. Also, there's national holidays that are more of the unofficial holidays, like May is National Barbecue Month. So, hey, if you run a restaurant and you have some great barbecue, try posting weekly grilling tips. Introduce a barbecue sandwich to the menu or post a photo of it on your Instagram. So that's just to get your ideas brewing. And once your posting strategy is in place for the month, that's when you can start crafting your post. And think about those goals. You know, are you trying to inform, entertain, or educate your audience? And ask yourself, is this content shareable? You don't want to just wake up one day and realize, oh my gosh, we haven't posted on our restaurant's Instagram for a week. Well, let me just brew something up, get it out there, and post. No, absolutely not. This is really important. It's not about quantity when it comes to posting, and that goes for all your social media sites. It comes down to quality, and that's getting to be more and more of the direction you need to go. It's quantity or quality, not quantity. And so outside of also operational updates, you might have events, specials, promotions, hour changes, closings. You know, those are good to put on your social media, but let's give it some more flavor. And I have five ways that we've seen work really well. Like I said, we manage social media, we create the content for thousands of restaurants so they can just focus on everything else that it takes to run a restaurant. So our writers are doing this day in and day out. Some of these examples, I'll share some of our work, but I wanted to go into 5 different ways to help you leave this webinar today and have just more of a sense of the importance of varying your content and then how to do that. So I want to start off with one of my favorites. Be sure to show off your team, your most popular dishes, and just the atmosphere of your restaurant. So starting off with a team member, this is a restaurant, Mama's Boy Athens, and I love that they have this picture of their teammate, and it's clearly branded right here outside their sign, and one of their most popular dishes. I've also seen restaurants do a little bio when they have like a new hire, or maybe a little background on the chef. And this is just a great way to not only make your employees feel valuable, right? But it might remind your customers of that familiar face, like, oh my gosh, I know him. He is so friendly. In fact, also, I'm starving. I should go in and grab some food today. And here's another important point about showing off your food. Make sure that you're taking high quality photos. And I know for us, we send out a photographer when right in the beginning when we sign up restaurants, because it's so important to have photos of your food, your atmosphere, your staff, and make sure that they look consistent. Because when you're taking photos of your business, you want to make sure that it doesn't look like 8 different people took the photo, right? So if you don't have a photographer that you're hiring, then no problem, use your smartphone, but just really make sure to be consistent with the photos. Make sure that plate of food looks like it does if I were to go and order that today. That what I saw on Instagram, sure, it got my appetite going, but I want what I see online to be exactly what I'm getting when my butt's in the seat at your restaurant. So be consistent there. Try to rely on natural lighting, and so the food looks, more appetizing. It doesn't look fake. For any audience, variation on social media is key. So just don't let your Instagram feed get boring. Don't become predictable. So mix up the types of food posts you're doing, menu items, and drinks. Maybe you have some cool cocktails, and then showcase that. Also, this is another photo I came across, just want to give another example. And this is exactly how that plate looks when you order it. I love the close-up on this lemon chicken. I don't even eat meat, and I think that this looks appetizing. Plus, you might get some comments. And this is a great way to brew up some testimonials, right? And I love this comment. Look over on the right side there. This person, Steph, says, "Thank you so much for offering your recipes on the website. Can't wait to try the lemon chicken." So this is super cool that they're sharing some of their recipes, probably not the secret recipes, right? They're sharing some of their recipes over on their website. So when I read that, I instantly wanted to go over to their website then because I was curious. I was like, oh, if they're offering recipes, I wonder what else is happening on their website. And also atmosphere. So this one's big for me. Well, like I said, I was just in New York recently and I was up at another show in LA. So I was on Yelp, I was on Google looking for places to eat. I do it all the time when I'm on the road. I actually do it even in my hometown that I now call San Diego. Look at me, I just moved here and I'm like, it's my hometown. But I constantly look at Yelp and Google and I want to see photos. I want to see photos of the food and I also want to see what's the vibe. Like, what is this place like? Because that's a big thing for me. I know I love to cook, so there's really not as much motivation to just always go out to eat because I'm like, well, I love to cook. But when I do go out to eat, I want to know that I'm going to get something I like in an atmosphere I like. So showcase your interior, your exterior. If you have kind of a sports bar vibe, I mean, we're coming on March Madness, like showcase how many TVs you have in your bar or restaurant. Or if you have activities, or you have a cool deck in the summertime where you can catch some rays. Whatever it is, maybe you're on a property where you have a beautiful view of the lake, so it's a great place to, or the beach, great place to celebrate sunset each and every day. Whatever it is, definitely put that out there on your social media pages, starting with Instagram for sure. It's such a visual platform. Also, I encourage you to host events and contests. This is a really exciting way to get people to consistently think about you, but also engage with your posts. Because events and contests, they're exciting and they reach an audience that's already following you, but it can help you to get in front of your current fans and followers' friends. And so if you're looking to get some new followers, which who isn't, right? Try running a contest where you ask your current followers to tag a friend in order to win a prize or a special or a discount. So here was just one example I came across and I wanted to share with you guys. This was about at the time, their March 4th is their first anniversary party. And so what they did on Instagram is they're just letting people know ahead of time. Notice they posted this in February, really smart. And they said, we look forward to celebrating with all of our amazing customers. So if you have an event, definitely let people know in advance. I think about even with webinars, I'm doing a webinar almost every week, but we let people know at least 2 to 3 weeks in advance because we're busy and so are your customers. So let them know ahead of time. Also try some contests. I know this business here, they were all about having people join them for a big game on Sunday, and they have this whole win a seat at our private classic City Lager big game watching party. I would be all about that. Plus people just love to have the chance to win something. But what this allows you to do is get people excited and get them tagging your friends, or maybe they have to comment below, and then they have a chance to win tickets to this event. So if you haven't tried this out, I definitely encourage you to do it. Maybe you've done it in the past, and this is just a friendly reminder to add that to your posting strategy. Now, you don't want to do it all the time, right? You don't need to be giving away stuff all the time for people to come into your restaurant, but it's a good way to mix up the types of posts that you're doing week after week. Number 3, I have a few examples of how to do this, but what we recommend is to be proactive about getting feedback from your customers. Because majority of consumers today, especially diners, customers, they love to absorb information about you before they go into your restaurant. So they're reading reviews on Yelp, they're reading reviews on Google, they're looking at photos, they're on social media to gauge your personality. Consumers are going up to as many as 6 or 7 sites about you before making a buying decision. So while that's great and you can definitely leverage that, and you should, you do need to be proactive about getting reviews. Now, restaurants, compared to other industries I speak to, you are more fortunate in the review area. People love to review the food in restaurants. We've all read it. Everyone thinks they're a critic or a food critic or a blogger sometimes when they go and eat at a restaurant. But you definitely have more opportunities and feedback that's coming your way than what I've seen for like, I don't know, a dentist or a chiropractor, right? So with that, I encourage you to ask questions from your social media posts on Instagram. And there's a couple ways I'm going to show you to do it. So here's one. This is not a stock photo. This is actually at Salt and Smoke. This is one of their employees pouring up a drink, and then they asked, Manhattans and snow are a perfect combination, right? Just kind of asking. It was a day, this day was snowing, and they were just playing off of that. Take it a next step further. To encourage feedback, I strongly recommend cross-promoting any and all good reviews that you're receiving. Share your favorite customer reviews and testimonials. Make your fans and followers aware that they can share feedback on review sites like Yelp, Google, TripAdvisor, those are the top 3, by sharing the great reviews that you're already getting. And that's a subtle way of like, hey, we pay attention to these. Also, we'd love to hear from you. And I love this view. This is actually what's cool about this restaurant. And you probably got this by reading their name, Top of the Lake, New York. This is actually the view you get when you go there. So I love that they put a customer review, a review from Bob from Yelp, and they actually just made this like cool picture with the review on top of it of the actual view. So maybe someone reviewed your great pizza or your barbecue or your cocktails, and what a cool idea, right? Use Canva or something and just simply quote that review over a picture of what they're reviewing. And then I love what they wrote on Instagram here in the caption. They said, when they said it's written in the stars, they were referring to our Yelp page. Very witty, very funny, and it's not soliciting the fans or customers. You know, you're not saying, speaking of stars, go give us 5 stars on our Yelp page. No. Don't do that. But encouraging is absolutely okay. This is just another great example. And they said, and this is vegan, believe it or not. I know, hard to believe. I haven't had this cafe in particular, but in LA, this is exactly how the chicken wings would come in when I ordered them. It's pretty wild. Anyways, they said that first bite equals a great story on Yelp. So you could say a great story on Google or a great story on TripAdvisor. But again, what you want to do is cross-promote your biggest fans over to your Yelp, Google, and TripAdvisor. And where is there a better place other than Instagram or social media? These are already your fans and followers. So of course they have great things to say about you. They just might need that little nudge. And catch them when they're online. You know, they're already online if they're seeing that Instagram post. So they're one step closer. Now, another really exciting way to include in your posting strategy that I enjoy is share behind the scenes. So this was a winery I came across on Instagram, and they said, stay on the lookout for the release of this hashtag Chardonnay in summer 2019. Hashtag harvest, hashtag perfection. So this is obviously just a little insight into what is going to go into the Chardonnay right there at the winery. Also, I love this behind the scenes in the kitchen. This reminds me of how much I enjoy watching cooking shows. If I'm not nerding out on behind the scenes on Instagram looking at restaurants and food, you'll catch me doing it on TV. Like Diners, Drive-In, and Dive. I love Triple D. That show is so fun to me. I love to see what's happening in the kitchen, how these recipes come together, and I'm no different than your customers. So without giving away all your secrets, right? Show us how that great burger comes together, or the sauce for the wings, or the homemade meatballs, and show your team in action. And it does kind of very much so overlap with the first tip I gave you, which is showcase your team, show them off. And then speaking of calendars, create timely posts. I shared the St. Patrick's Day post in the beginning, but I want to share 2 others. And that is, first of all, the unofficial holidays, like this is olive oil month at the time. And National Athens incorporates olive oil in a lot of their dishes. So this makes sense. It's relevant to their audience. And they had this Instagram post about throughout olive oil month, you'll find menu items, both at lunch and dinner and dessert, featuring true extra virgin olive oil from Italy. Ah, that sounds divine. So, of course, you don't want to just celebrate every unofficial holiday if it doesn't make sense to your audience. But if you're a pizza place and it's National Pizza Day, oh, you want to know about that and you want to post about it. Also, I saw this one around Valentine's Day, took a screenshot of it, and this was just a great shot of the food coming together, and they had some great behind the scenes, but also they were playing off of, in their captions, about Valentine's Day approaching and about promoting to make a reservation for your date on Valentine's Day, things of that nature. So Valentine's Day has come and gone for some of us, thank goodness, right? And for others, I hope you had a good time. But St. Patrick's Day is coming up, as well as other holidays and other things just happening like March Madness, etc., and unofficial holidays. So again, get a calendar out, plan ahead, and let the creativity flourish, not be rushed. So now I'm going to go into the second topic here, which is about hashtags. And it's really important that you're using relevant hashtags in your caption. And the whole idea there is you can get new eyes on your business's Instagram content, and you can boost engagement. So here's an example. If you're not sure how that works, by the way, just a little brief rundown. So when you use hashtags in your post, it allows your post to show up in Instagram's search function. So for example, in this post here, you'll see a few different hashtags there. Let's point one out. So Nashville Eats. That's a good localized hashtag. Hashtag Nashville Eats. This restaurant's obviously in Nashville. So what, in this example, let's say a user is searching for a hashtag like Nashville Eats, and you have used that, like the restaurant here, then your business's post will show up in those search results, even if that user doesn't follow you. So what's the benefit? Should be clear, right? The more new users that see your restaurant's post, the more likely you are to gain new followers and gain new business. So the tip here, improve the reach on your post that you're already doing and coming up with by adding some hashtags. I know, speaking of local hashtags, I travel to Austin a lot, Austin, Texas, for work. That's where my team is. And I love to go out to eat while I'm there. And one of the ways that I find restaurants, even though I have friends who live there, I could just ask them like the old-fashioned way, like, hey, Mike, where should I go to get a good burger tonight? But instead, I go on social media and I search hashtag Austin Eats or hashtag ATX Eats. And if you're an Austin restaurant, I absolutely would recommend adding that. I know a lot of them do, because then your post could get in front of me and therefore you get my business. You see the domino effect. And then you can even do a simple Google search with your city and search the word hashtag and what you want to post about, like, for example, Chicago food hashtags, and that'll help you find these local hashtags too. Have fun with it. I love this stat. Instagram posts with at least one hashtag tend to receive 12.6% more engagement. So why not? And you can add up to like 30 hashtags on Instagram, but be mindful of the hashtags you're choosing. Make sure that they're actually relevant to your post and you're not just spamming your audience with a bunch of hashtags. And here's an example. This is Mama's Boy Athens again. And you'll notice right there on their Instagram, if you look at their description, so their Southern restaurant here, Southern fun dining, and then notice they have their hashtag right up top there. And I love it because they're encouraging their audience in their bio there, hey, tag us in your pictures, use this hashtag. And voila, that's a great thing for the restaurant, because then you're getting user-generated content, which we'll talk about later today. So here we go. 70% of hashtags used on Instagram are branded. So this one here, remember they are promoting this, they're Mama's Boy Athens. So I could go search that. Let's say I'm doing the social media for them, and I want some user-generated content, so I can post for Mama's Boy Athens today. Simple. go search the hashtag. There's 442 posts here. Now, are all of them worthy of resharing? Yeah, I would say use your best judgment. But already I'm seeing some great photos from the customers, whether it's who they're dining with, the food they're eating, or even a great visual of the outside of your restaurant. So this is super powerful. Take advantage of it and keep up with what's trending by all means. Hashtag BTS for behind the scenes, like we talked about earlier. Hashtag Taco Tuesday. Sure, those are trending and popular, but you're going to be competing with a lot. So definitely, I would also include really relevant specific hashtags to you or your local area. And then in addition to that, when you're trying to, you're targeting frequently used hashtags like hashtag Taco Tuesday, or in this case, hashtag Pancake Tuesday, make sure you have a great photo of actually one of your pancakes if you're using this when you're promoting your specials. So I love that picture. I don't even really care for sweets in the morning, but that does look pretty appetizing. But again, Pancake Tuesday, this is a very frequently used hashtag, as you can see, 74,000 posts. So you wouldn't want to just rely on hashtag Pancake Tuesday on all of your examples. You're gonna be drowning in there with a bunch of other content. So let's talk about stories, and I'd love to hear from you guys about what you think of stories. Are you leveraging it? What have you found to be successful with it? But what's cool is you can use Instagram stories for these very in the moment content and to document an event, for example, and post only a photo or a video to your feed that you think is the best quality photo from that event. I love Instagram stories. It's one of my favorite ways to just see, hey, what's happening over there at that restaurant? Or what's going on with that event? I wonder how the turnout is. And it sounds kind of weird, right? But it's just the way our generation is going. We just really want to get a feel before we leave our house. What is this going to be like? And Instagram stories has been very helpful for millennials to do that. And it's only growing in popularity. What's cool about it is that stories allow users to create a feed of sequential content. And if you're new to this, that content disappears within 24 hours of being posted. And story content can either be static photos or videos. I know my friends love the boomerang. We did one at the New York Food Show when I was there in our seminar. A gal came up and she's like, hey, everybody, is it all right if I take a boomerang? Emma, get in there. And we all did something. It's fun. Have fun with it. So think of stories as a sort of secondary exclusive feed of content for your most dedicated followers. And then creative touches such as unique captions and overlays make stories totally different from traditional posts. I'm going to share some examples here, but just remember story content is also prioritized in the sense that Instagram highlights updated stories up front in your feed. So the purple circle there, see that the Instagram color is a little circle around there of this particular tapas bar and restaurant. That's letting the followers know, hey, we've recently added to our story. That always catches my eye, and I'm going to click and I'm going to watch. So here's just an example of a couple stories from a particular event. So just as you'd promote an offer via Instagram, you can do the same with stories, and it's perfect for restaurants and bars alike because you could do like a limited time only, limited time deals. And for example, this is Bar Mercado, and they were doing this one was a rosé day. That's right. This one I came across, they had a rosé day, and I loved it because they documented it throughout the day. So at any point, if you're interested, potential customer, you can see, get engaged, get informed what's going on here. But also it's that less polished content, right? This is a little bit, it's not as permanent, so therefore it gives it more of a authentic, raw feeling that I love about stories. So here's the Bar Mercado. That's what I was just thinking of. Bar Mercado used a story to tease their recent beer dinner with Beer Wild Haven promotion. I love this. Their initial post hype that something special is going on inside of the restaurant, and just a little context. So this was playful. It's playful sort of content. It's perfect for getting people interested in what you have going on. And many restaurants share stories dedicated to their followers' user-generated content. So I love that. That's the example on the right. So here's the example of using user-generated content and then incorporating it in your story. So for example, the place Bird Biscuit, it's a catchy name. They use their hashtag Bird Biscuit hashtag to show off followers' photos in a massive story slideshow. And Instagram stories, oh man, that's a prime place to show off user-generated content via hashtags. And stories represent a fantastic place to publish UCG for short, if you want to get in with the lingo. User-generated content, UGC. If you don't want it to dominate your main feed, yeah, throw it in a story. This is especially important as you don't want your valuable shout-outs from followers to go to waste. And speaking of user-generated content, we got to dive into that as well. So hopefully you all are familiar with this term, or at least more familiar now that we've been talking about it. But what are your best practices? What are you doing with this? And really resharing what other users are posting about your restaurant, your staff, your food on Instagram. It's not only free advertising, but it's free content. And users are giving you great content to share on your page, especially in your industry. So don't let that opportunity pass you by. Like, go share it. An alarming stat, 85% of consumers find visual user-generated content more influential than brand photos or videos. Not that surprising, right? Because user-generated content acts as word of mouth. I'm more likely to trust what your menu items are or how good your food is if your customers are raving about it, taking pictures about it, versus what you have on your website. User-generated content builds rapport, it builds trust. So the content that your customers post about your restaurant provides a fantastic opportunity for you to show your followers how much you love them. Here's a great example. This is a fan of Germantown Pub. And what she did, she posted a photo on her personal Instagram and she tagged the restaurant. I do this all the time. And then Germantown Pub, they're paying attention to this stuff, monitoring all the time. They went ahead and shared the content on their Instagram, which is what you're seeing here. So by sharing content a fan posted, you're also showing that fan that you appreciate them. You're grateful for their business. I love this. And then notice too in their captions, the restaurant immediately mentions this customer, Ash. She's Ash and Nash. That's catchy. Oh, she must do a lot of food stuff because that's really catchy. Ash and Nash. Letting everyone know that Hot Chicken Week ain't over yet. 2 more days to come in for $5 nachos and feel that heat. What a great way to promote that. So you're not, again, it's not so much like advertising, salesy. It's user-generated content. So this is like word of mouth, and what a great way to promote it. Ooh, I just noticed this hashtag too. They have hashtag Hot Chicken Week 19. That's smart. So if there's something you're doing like Hot Chicken Week, Barbecue Month, Olive Oil Month, Donut Day, Pizza Day, whatever, see if there's a hashtag you can add to your post when you're talking about those things. And look what they're doing. Great. They're doing those localized hashtags. Germantown, Nashville. Brilliant. I love it. Cool. So another thing too, this just triggered something. As I mentioned to you guys, I recently moved to San Diego, and there's a lot of farmers markets here, and I love a good farmers market. And everyone kept saying, Emma, you got to go to Little Italy's farmers market. So on Saturday morning, I woke up, I went to the farmers market, strolled it. It was huge. Oh my gosh, took like an hour just to cover what was there. Anyways, point of this story, I went up to one of the vendors there, and it was this brand. It was called Mulk, like milk, but with a U, M-U-L-K. totally check out their Instagram. This company is awesome. I met the owner, and she came up with the brand because of her accent. Her husband was like, "You say milk funny." So she came up with the brand Milk, and it's all dairy free. I think my beverage had like ginger, cinnamon, turmeric, super healthy. You're like, oh, you're so San Diego. And what I did is I purchased the $10. Yes, it was $10, but it was jam-packed with ingredients. I purchased the $10 milk. I walked up the farmer's market looking at some plants, and I simply just shook it, because you want to shake it a lot, and I did a video on my Instagram. Just the color was radiant. It was beautiful. So I do it. I tag the company, and within 5 minutes, they commented like thanking me for thanking me for their business, my business. Sorry. And I'm telling you guys, they had a huge line. So this gal's busy, but she took the time to thank me, and then she reshared my video. So I got in front of their audience, which as a customer, we just love that, right? And I felt appreciated. And I'll spend $10 again on some milk. So highly recommend it. Pay attention to what your customers are posting. Absolutely. And reshare it. And, you know, they're giving you a testimonial, right? Like me posting that in front of my followers is me recommending her business, her product. So of course you should acknowledge that, right? And I know this stuff takes time, I know, but it's worth the time. This is today's marketing. So let's look at a couple more examples before we wrap. So here we go, good old Austin, Texas. I always got to have a good Austin, Texas example. So here on Instagram, Sour Duck Market, they're promoting their weekend brunch. Weekend brunch might make you smile. Egg and ham sandwich, egg salad pimento, pickled cucumber. And what they did there is they took not just a picture of a sandwich back in the kitchen or took a picture of a sandwich before it was plated. They actually, which would be fine. I mean, by all means, take pictures of your food. But to mix it up, they took this customer, Nick, his photo that he clearly tagged them at some point on Instagram, and they simply used his photo. They mentioned his name in the caption there. I love what they said too. At Nick Bloomingdale, minutes before devouring this specific creation, and they tagged the chef too. And then also gave credit to who took the photo of Nick. So a lot of great mentions there, which only helps you to get more eyes on your post. So take a look. What are people saying? And then creating this kind of connection. And that's what it is. Creating this kind of connection can help you make these Instagram users into lifelong fans of your restaurant, your food, your drinks, and it will encourage other users to share photos of their experience, right? Like if my favorite restaurant is clearly using user-generated content, like they're reposting what their customers are posting, I am more inclined then as a customer to take my viewpoint of that great sandwich or salad or pasta and tag them, because I'm like, well, they clearly pay attention to this. Maybe my picture will get reshared. Plus, millennial users, and if you haven't guessed it, yes, I am a millennial. I will not tell you where I fall in that age frame, but millennial users value this kind of endorsement. We love it. They trust user-generated content 50% more than original content created by the restaurant. So tap into this. And one more example, because there's a lot of ways to reshare, repost. I wanted to point out, just in case you're not sure how to reshare content, which comes up. I know you might have some experts on the line right now, but it comes up every seminar. How do I go about resharing this, Emma? Well, here's yet another brief rundown. So you can share another user's photo by using a reposting app. So many like it's actually called Repost app. And it's free. It's in the App Store. Can't beat free. Other options, you can ask that customer, so the user, for their original photo, or ask for permission to actually screenshot and share their posts. So just make sure that however you are resharing the user-generated content, credit the user who created the original post within the caption. So it could be really simple. I mean, you could say, thanks for the photo at username, or one of my favorites, little camera emoji, colon, username, as a great way. So this is my last example of user-generated content here. This was for Craft Meats, and they said tag a friend. Okay, this post does a few things we need to highlight. So as you can see, it's reposted. So John is the original photographer here who posted this on their personal page. Craft Meats used the repost app, which is why you see that the way it looks in the bottom left corner of the photo. That's from the app. And then they shared it. And then I love what they did with the caption. Tag a friend out of state and explain to them what Frito pie is. Photo credit, John. So John got a lot of credit there, not only with the repost app, also in the caption. That's great. And then the call to action on that caption is, oh, that rhymed. Call to action on the caption, tag a friend out of state and explain to them what Frito pie is, which I grew up in Indiana and worked for a dozen restaurants. And I'll tell you what, I know what Frito pie is. And it was so handy after like a baseball game, softball game, going over to, I worked at like the Sweet Retreat. So it's ice cream and quick food, small local business. You could barely fit 3 employees in the building, like tiny. And Frito pie, one of the most popular things all the kids and parents would get after those late nights on the ball field. Loved it. All right, so with that, we've covered a lot, and I made a point to save some time, reserve some time for Q&A. So I wanted to also point out, before we get into the Q&A, I wanted to share just some of the upcoming food service shows that we have going on as well. Well, the food and beverage show does. So many great shows coming up. But I'll turn it over to you, Patricia, if you want to add anything there about the upcoming food service shows.
Yes, thank you so much, Emma. That was such a terrific presentation. We actually have a lot of questions. So, yeah, so if we wanted to take a quick glance at this slide, just let everyone know we have our Coffee Fest is coming up in May in Indianapolis, and then following our Western Food Service Show in August, followed by the Florida Food Show in September for the rest of the shows this year. And Emma, if you want to click back to your recap, just in case anyone needs to follow along there with any questions. But I'm going to get started on the questions because we have a lot of questions to get through. One of the first questions, actually, I just want to remind everyone, I can answer this one. It was a question in regards to getting a copy of the presentation. Just to remind everyone, this will be available on our website, which is www.foodandbevshows.com in this coming week. So be sure to check it there and you can get your copy. So Emma, the first question we had, and this kind of goes back to the beginning of your presentation, someone was wondering, doesn't everyone use these calendar events to promote their spaces? And when does it not make sense?
Great, yeah, so it might seem like everyone does this, but I can tell you from, we have consultants who analyze restaurants' Instagrams every day. Doing free consultations, and it is something that's overlooked a lot. You'd be surprised. Now, certain areas throughout the country, certain cities, some restaurants are just more on top of it. You know, we see that too. But what I have found, not so much, not me, but what I've learned from our work and posting for restaurants for 8 years is that while this is a best practice that sure some people are aware of, it's still what the consumer wants. Like the consumer wants to know what events you're having, or what are you doing on that holiday? Are you open? Are you not? Are you going to do a special happy hour for St. Patrick's Day? And how can you make it unique? So make it unique to your restaurant, your voice. You know, every local restaurant has its own spin on things. So if anything, have it motivate you to inform your content so it's more tailored to your target audience. You know, what kind of customers do you draw in? You know that answer. And I would just use that motivation of getting, thinking about how it can inform the content you're doing, but then also see how it does, like track the metrics, because you will have to do some trial and error. You know, how early do I promote it? What time of day, what day of the week works best? And that's going to be a different answer for the other restaurant who's also doing a content calendar, because they have a different audience. So you want to make sure you're keeping track of the metrics as well, but also to how often you do this, you know, your audience will inform that too. But don't always do this, because then your content becomes too similar. And that was the point of me doing the posting strategy section where I gave 5 ways to mix up the types of ways you're posting. Make sure you're doing at least those 5. And honestly, there's more ways than that. Those were just my 5 favorite.
Great, thanks, Emma. The next question, when taking pictures of the establishment, is it better when it's empty or with customers?
Oh, I love this question. So I would encourage doing both because 2 reasons. So empty, you can really get a great photo. There's no distractions. I know we do both when we send out a photographer just to get, hey, this is the establishment. This is what it looks like. Is it divey? Is it located in the city? You know, to get a feel for just the vibe. But also you want to show your place busy too, right? So that's where I encourage taking photos, and not only of when it's busy there, but paying attention to what your customers are taking pictures of. Maybe they got a great picture of from their point of view, the customer point of view. But also, again, Instagram stories. You know, that's a great way for me to see, like, oh man, I really want to go catch this college basketball game over at this bar/restaurant, and they're posting on their Instagram stories. Oh, wait, that place looks too crowded, or maybe that's exactly what I'm going for. So I would encourage both.
Nice, thank you. The next question, is there a good website that lists all unofficial holidays?
You know, I could definitely follow up with my content team that actually creates posts. We do this for 10,000 businesses, so I'm sure they know if there's a site. But I personally, I've found just a simple Google search has been really helpful to know, hey, what are the unofficial holidays of 2019 or of March?
Okay, thank you very much. The next question we have, I like my Instagram page to look beautiful, and let's face it, those behind the scenes photos don't always look great when placed on the wall. How about using those in the story feature instead so they don't muck up the wall? Actually, I think you kind of just answered this, but if you want to elaborate.
So Instagram stories for sure. It's going to be more of a raw view. You can, and it's 24 hours, so it's still, you're giving that customer credit and a mention. You're building. When it comes to your Instagram, you definitely want to think of, how does it look when someone lands on my page? So, you know, like if I pulled up my Instagram right now, what do you see? Well, you see that grid, right? You see the, like, usually 6 photos. And you want to have consistency with that in your brand, the lighting, the coloring, and it should be beautiful, of course, and an accurate representation of your business. So I think it's still a great way to include user-generated content in your story. If that makes you feel more comfortable with your brand, your voice, and your restaurant, go for it. You're still going to pop up on that user's radar.
Great. The next question we have is about hashtags. They read, the magic number of hashtags is 9. Thoughts? And then, is too many hashtags a thing?
Yeah, so too many hashtags is definitely a thing. And as for the best amount, trust me, I'm doing my research on that all the time too. I've heard 9 as well. I've heard 8. Also, it's different for different sites, so and it changes. So just whenever you're going into it, just check up on what's the best practices, the latest best practices on Instagram. But keep in mind, Twitter and Facebook, those are different platforms. So don't just assume that, oh, that worked well with Instagram, so I'll just apply that to my Facebook or my Twitter. But personally, I think having, 6 to 9, it doesn't look too cluttered. And then you can have an opportunity to get those trending hashtags, those really popular ones in there, but also your really localized, unique ones that are less popular.
Thank you. Next question, how do you get more customers to post about your food? Do you recommend hiring Instagram food influencers to come to your restaurant and post about you for free food or money?
So there's a lot of creative ways that I would recommend without offering money or even discounts or influencers. And that would be just making it really visible, your handles or your hashtags. So just like we saw, let's go back to this example of the restaurant Mama's Boy Athens. So for example, see how they have their they have it in their intro, like tag us in your pictures and use this hashtag. So it's a simple strategy, but it goes a long way. Make it very visible and let people know that you want to hear from them. And that's why I do encourage sharing user-generated photos on your grid, because, and I know I hear the point about like, what if they aren't the most beautiful photo? But if you do get one and you feel it's on brand, share it, because then that's also going to encourage other customers to tag you, right? Because they want to be on your Instagram page too. And so with that in mind, another example, besides just doing this, sharing a customer's photo, you can also make a point of doing some offline things, having your staff encourage it. I went into a restaurant once and they had it on the menu, like just their hashtag, we'd love to hear from you, have it. And then if you want to do a contest, by all means, you could throw that in. Like, we're going to have a lucky winner, but I just don't think you have to rely on that every time. But it's really about exposure and then repurposing that user-generated content so people know you're into it and they might have a chance to show up on your grid.
Great, thank you. The next question is, this is a restaurant on a golf course, and they're wondering how they can use the UGC effectively.
Oh, that's fun. I grew up an avid golfer, so I'm just thinking of a lot of ways. So definitely, I would play off of what's happening at the course in your posts for sure. And then encourage, just like I mentioned with the customers, to share their photos, use this hashtag. And if you can in any way team up with the golf side of things outside of the restaurant, what if people are getting your food? I'm not sure, I don't know the restaurant, but what if they're getting your food to go for their round of golf? I mean, 18 holes takes a long time. You got to have some grub. So maybe you team up with them and encourage people that, hey, while you're out there, like, we'd love to see that great club sandwich out there in action on the course. Use this hashtag. But it's a proactive thing that some businesses are relying on their own offline tactics as well as online to do it. But make sure it's very clear on your social media platforms how you can get in front of the restaurant with the hashtag. Oh, also there was this is a little extreme maybe, but I went to a winery in Northern California, and when I walked in, the entrance had a huge sign of their dedicated hashtag. So one, clearly they want to see the photos that their customers are taking while hanging out at the winery or playing games at the winery. But also they make it really easy. You don't have to like wonder, it already is triggering that. So I've seen a lot of these offline motivators, whether that's on the menu, a sign, or the staff encouraging it. And at the end of the day, it's fun. I love it.
Thank you. Next question, is it more effective to add hashtags under the captions or under the comment section, and does it make a difference?
I've heard, I don't think that, I will be honest with you, I don't know if there's a clear answer on that one, because so much of a hashtag is affected by your audience, right? And depending on where you're located and what your business is and what you're hashtagging. So I don't know if there's a preferred or what works better, but you can easily tell, right? Just try both and see which one's performing more, like which one's boosting your engagement more. Because I don't know if it would be I doubt it's a one size fits all, one answer fits all.
Okay, so we actually have about 5 more questions just to give you a guideline, Emma. The next question, what's the average time per day for a restaurant to review and post? It seems like it takes a lot of time.
The average time, so how much time it takes to put into creating?
I think they're looking for the average time per day for a restaurant to review and post.
Oh, okay. So I do know this, and this is important, because it's not just about posting, it's also about responding to customer reviews and also managing your online reputation. So what we've found to do this effectively, to post, to manage, to respond, and then also track your metrics, because you can't do any of this blind. On average, it takes about 20 hours a week is what we've seen, 20 hours a week. And that is because it's a full-time job. That's no secret. So definitely, that's not to scare you. It's just to give a good gauge of like what's expected. And happy to talk about that further too after the webinar about what should we focus on, because this was just about Instagram, but what should we focus on besides Instagram? Is that would I answer that right?
I think so. But is there, I mean, I'm not sure who we don't have the information for the person. So if there's a way, there in the follow-up email, I know there's a way that we can exchange. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
let's make that announcement. So there'll be a follow-up email. I know Patricia shared with you all. They're sending out a recording. Pay attention to that email, because there's also going to be from us, GoDaddy Social, a link where you can click to have a free social media assessment where you speak with one of my team members, and you can get that. They're going to study your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Yelp, and Google, and TripAdvisor, and they'll go through your pages with you. So you will get all your questions answered no matter what. That's super important.
And if you're good for a couple more, so the next question, this is very interesting. How do you measure the success of a post beyond just likes? For example, if a post doesn't get the most likes but is successful from engagement and reach, how do I show my team who sees likes as success that it still did well?
Yeah, so success, and I would definitely encourage the free social media assessment for this, because that in itself I could do an hour webinar on measuring success. But here's what I have to say, and I want to hone in on Instagram for this. So your posts are now more, high quality after this webinar, right? They're engaging, they're varied, you're using smart hashtags, smart captions. But in order to know if your posts are resonating with your audience, you need to keep track of how your Instagram content is performing, and measuring your engagement rate is really the best way to gauge if your content is resonating with your audience. So likes are important. Yeah, I mean, engagement rate, what is that? That's the number of likes divided by the number of followers multiplied by 100. And that's really one of our most telling metrics. So you will want to aim for around 3% engagement. And if you are not hitting that, then you just need to reevaluate. So I would also consider comments a success too, but I'd have to agree, likes are really how you're measuring that engagement rate there. But experiment with time of day, type of content, number of hashtags, start thinking about ways to get in front of new users, like hosting a contest, giving away a promotion, and utilizing that user-generated content. And then one more thing, measuring these stats is really the best way to make sure all the effort you're putting in to engage with your fans is actually working. And then I encourage you, though, definitely to talk with us about Facebook too, because I have a whole nother tips and tricks about measuring success on Facebook and boosting posts, which is important as well.
Thank you. The next question, what are advantages to having a marketing company in another town posting for you instead of someone on site?
Yeah, so complete transparency. I mentioned, right, we do this every day for over 10,000 businesses. And we do it all from Austin, Texas. And that is because we have a dedicated account manager who gets to know you, your business. It's a whole welcome call, and it's like a thorough interview. Why you got into this in the first place? How would you describe the ambiance of your restaurant? And then from there, you still have that account manager and a team of writers, and they get to know you and your business, and that relationship grows and informs the content. And then we also send out a photographer. And what we found, so regardless of if you work with the GoDaddy Social or you have some marketing company in the town nearby or a few states over, the key thing is what is their plan? Does it line up with your goals? Have they done this for a business like yours before? But you can absolutely be successful without being right there. I mean, if we have been doing it for over 8 years, that's proved something, right? We're able to take on the voice of a business. So it is possible. I wouldn't be hung up on having someone in-house or local, even though that can be a comfort thing, because it comes down to best practices when creating content. And if you have a company or a writer who can create high quality content that lines up with your voice and goals and can show metrics then you got yourself something great, because you're going to save yourself a lot of time at the end of the day.
Awesome. So we have, we're actually going over our allotted amount of time, so I'm going to squeeze in one more question, and I just want to remind everyone that to look out for the follow-up email, as we mentioned, because that will have information on how you can get in touch with Emma. So the last question we have here is, sorry, can the same content be shared on Facebook and Instagram, or should those be different?
Yeah, so this is a very popular question as well. You should keep in mind that you have different audiences across all social media platforms, and not every platform should have the exact same post. Now, some businesses I've seen definitely get away with that, and it worked well. Like, they were seeing great metrics. If you're seeing a good engagement rate and this is working, do it. You're saving yourself time, but usually it's not as simple. It's usually maybe that post will do well on Instagram and Facebook, but the time of day should be different, or the day of the week should be different based on the audience there. Because great content doesn't always have to be posted on every platform at the same time. So if you do find that a photo would work well on all 3 platforms, just make sure you vary your captions, keep them short and sweet, and often you'll have fans who follow you across different platforms. You don't want them to see the exact same post on each platform. They're going to unfollow you on 2 of the 3. So real quick too, here's the ideal length of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram captions. With Facebook, you want to be around 40 to 80 characters. Twitter, we see a good balance of 71 to 100 characters, and Instagram, 138 to 150 characters. So leverage that difference, leverage the difference in the platforms, the audiences they draw in, and the content that resonates on each one.
Awesome. Well, Emma, thank you so much. I know I certainly learned a lot from this. I really appreciate you taking the time. Seems the audience definitely had a lot of questions. I'm sorry we ran out of time. But as we mentioned, the follow-up email will be going out tomorrow. So everyone, keep that on your radar. And, you can get in touch with Emma and follow up with any additional questions that you may have. Emma, did you have any closing points? Or
yeah, I just want to say again, thank you all for attending today, and for those of you listening to the recording, thanks for listening in, and thank you, Patricia and Amy and your team, for helping put this on. This was a huge success. And also, everybody keep a lookout for not only their events but our webinars and more education. It's always free and it's always fun. So get out there and see what we have in store for future education. There's more hot topics to be covered.
Yes, absolutely. And we look forward to having you at our events for sure. So keep tuned. Everyone stay tuned on that as well. So thank you so much, Emma. Everyone have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.